Introduco Montemestatim back to Cheating Stories, the channel where we share shocking tales of betrayal, heartbreak, secrets, and revenge. Today's story is one that still hurts me every time I think about it. It's the story of how the person I trusted most in the world, my own twin sister, destroyed my marriage. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Growing up, everyone said, my twin sister Ava and I were inseparable. We looked identical, shared the same room, wore matching clothes, and finished each other's sentences. People often joked that we were one person living in two bodies. I believed nothing could ever come between us. I was wrong. Even as children, Ava had a competitive streak. If I got an A in school, she needed an A+. If I made a new friend, she tried to become closer to them than I was. At the time, I thought it was harmless sibling rivalry. Looking back now, I realize it was something much darker. When we were 28 years old, I met the love of my life. His name was Ethan. He was kind, funny, and incredibly patient. He made me feel safe in a way no one else ever had. The first time I introduced him to my family, Ava smiled and welcomed him warmly. At least that's what I thought. Months later, Ethan proposed. It was a beautiful evening at the beach where we'd had our first date. I cried when he got down on one knee. Of course I said yes. Everyone was thrilled. My parents celebrated. Our friends congratulated us. And Ava acted like she was my biggest supporter. She even volunteered to help plan the wedding. I felt lucky to have such a supportive sister. What I didn't know was that she was quietly becoming obsessed with my fiancé. At first, there were little things. She would text Ethan about wedding details instead of contacting me. She laughed a little too hard at his jokes. She always found excuses to be around him. Whenever I mentioned it, people told me I was imagining things. She's your sister. Don't be paranoid. Twins are naturally close. So I ignored my instincts. That was my biggest mistake. The wedding was beautiful. I still remember standing at the altar, looking into Ethan's eyes and believing we would spend the rest of our lives together. Ava stood beside me as my maid of honor. She smiled throughout the ceremony. Looking back at the photos now, I see something different in her expression. Not happiness, envy. For the first year of marriage, everything was perfect. Ethan and I bought a small house. We traveled. We talked about starting a family. Life felt like a dream. Then Ava started showing up more often. At first, it seemed innocent. She'd stop by for dinner. She'd join us for movie nights. She'd call Ethan asking for help with random things. Because we looked identical, she often joked that Ethan had married the wrong twin. Everyone laughed. Even Ethan. But the joke began making me uncomfortable. One evening, I came home from work early. As I walked into the kitchen, I found Ava and Ethan sitting together. They immediately stopped talking. The room became awkwardly silent. I asked what was going on. Ava laughed nervously. Nothing. We were just talking. Something felt off, but I couldn't prove anything. Over the following months, I noticed more strange behavior. Whenever Ethan received a text, he'd quickly lock his phone. Ava suddenly knew details about our marriage that I hadn't told her. And whenever I confronted either of them, they acted like I was being unreasonable. I started questioning myself. Maybe I was insecure. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was imagining problems where none existed. Then came the night everything changed. I was using Ethan's laptop to order groceries when a message notification appeared. The sender's name made my stomach drop. Ava. I stared at the screen. Part of me wanted to close it. Part of me already knew what I was about to find. With trembling hands, I opened the message. What I saw shattered my world. The messages weren't friendly. They weren't innocent. They were romantic, flirtatious, intimate. Months of conversation stretched across the screen. There were messages declaring love, messages discussing secret meetings, messages mocking me. One message from Ava read, "Sometimes I feel guilty." Ethan replied, "Don't. She'll never find out." My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. I kept scrolling. Each message felt like another knife in my chest. Then I found photos. Photos of them together. Photos taken while I was at work. Photos taken in my own house. I collapsed onto the floor. The two people I trusted most had been betraying me for months, maybe even longer. When Ethan came home that evening, I was waiting. I had printed screenshots and spread them across the dining table. His face turned pale the moment he saw them. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, he whispered, "I can explain." I laughed, not because anything was funny, because I couldn't believe what was happening. "Explain what?" I asked. "Explain how you slept with my sister." He started crying, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no compassion, just numbness. The truth came pouring out. The affair had started 8 months earlier. It began with flirtation, then secret lunches, then hotel rooms, then full-blown betrayal. According to Ethan, Eva had pursued him relentlessly, but he admitted he had willingly participated. Neither of them was innocent. I asked him one question: "Do you love her?" His silence gave me the answer. That night, I packed a suitcase and left. The next morning, I drove straight to my parents' house. I told them everything. At first, they refused to believe me. Then I showed them the evidence. My mother burst into tears. My father looked physically sick. When Eva arrived later that day, the confrontation exploded. She denied everything, then blamed Ethan, then blamed me. According to her, I had always been the favorite twin. I had the better life, the better husband, the better opportunities. She claimed she deserved happiness too. I stared at her in disbelief. She had destroyed my marriage and somehow convinced herself she was the victim. That was the moment I realized my sister wasn't sorry, not even a little. Over the next few weeks, my life fell apart. I filed for divorce. Friends chose sides. Family gatherings became impossible. Everywhere I went, people whispered. The pain was unbearable. Some days I couldn't get out of bed. Some days I cried until I had no tears left. The hardest part wasn't losing Ethan. It was losing my sister, the person who had shared every chapter of my life, the person who was supposed to protect me, the person who knew me better than anyone. She had betrayed me in the worst possible way. Months later, I learned something else. The affair hadn't started 8 months earlier. It had started before my wedding. The entire time Eva had been helping me plan my marriage, she had already been involved with my future husband. She had stood beside me at the altar knowing she was sleeping with him. That revelation hurt more than anything else. Eventually, the divorce was finalized. Ethan moved out. Eva moved in with him. For a while, they played happy couple. They posted photos online. They acted like they had found true love. But betrayal has a way of repeating itself. A year later, Ethan cheated on Eva. Ironically, she discovered messages on his phone, the same way I had. When I heard the news, I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt sad, because all of it had been unnecessary. The family I once had was gone forever. Years have passed since then. I rebuilt my life. I focused on healing. I went to therapy. I made new friends. I learned how to trust again. Eventually, I met someone new, someone honest, someone loyal, someone who understood my scars without judging them. As for Eva, we no longer speak. The last conversation we had ended with her trying to justify her actions. I finally realized closure doesn't come from apologies. Sometimes closure comes from accepting that certain people are incapable of giving you the answers you deserve. Today, I live a peaceful life. Not a perfect life, but a peaceful one. And if there's one lesson I learned from this experience, it's this: the people closest to you can hurt you the most, but they don't get to define your future. Their betrayal is part of your story. It doesn't have to become the end of it. I survived losing my marriage. I survived losing my twin sister. And in the end, I discovered something important. Sometimes the people who break your heart are the same people who unknowingly push you toward a better life. I never got the family I thought I wanted, but I found something even more valuable: myself. Thank you for listening to this story on Cheating Stories. If this story kept you hooked until the end, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you more dramatic stories of betrayal, revenge, heartbreak, and shocking secrets. Tell us in the comments, Would you ever forgive a sibling who betrayed you like this? And remember to subscribe to Cheating Stories for more unbelievable relationship drama and true style cheating stories.